Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're excited to have with us Ebony. We're excited to have my co host Crystal and Bunny with us. So, tonight, we're talking to Ebony. For those that may have seen my very first episode, we've had Ebony on here. Um, and Ebony was the one that started it off with us talking to the parents. So, with that being said, I want to introduce my co host first. We have Crystal. Crystal is a mom of five. She's married. She lives in Michigan, but she grew up in the DMV. We also have Bunny. She's a mom of three, and she has a grandson, Grayson, which she has brought that has brought so much life to our show as well. So we just want to ask everybody to, and of course I'm Morgan. Everybody knows Morgan Pop, and I have a son, Jeremy. I'm married. Bunny is also married. So with that being said, after the introductions, as far as our team is concerned, we would like to give the floor to Ebony. Ebony, take us away. So with that being said, first of all, first and foremost, I think Ebony has a very, very interesting story. This is part two. We have had some part ones and part two. Unexpectedly, Ebony came to me with an issue that I thought would be very, very good on the podcast. So, in essence, this is Ebony's part two. So, with that being said, Ebony, take us away. Tell us a little bit about your family, and then let's go right into the subject matter.
So I have two children. I have my wonderful son, Caden, who is 10, who is autistic, ADHD, and every other letter of the alphabet that you can think of. I have my daughter, Harley, who's 6, who is Caden's biggest fan and biggest protector and biggest cheerleader. Caden, who has been aggressive since he was born, has always been aggressive. They first thought it was medication that was causing it. Later on in life, they just, assumed it was just Caden's personality. Caden has foot surgery in November, but again, has always been aggressive, and more aggressive. Tearing up my house, fighting family members. Recently just started putting his hands on me. So when it got to the point where he didn't have fear in his heart for me anymore, that's when I was like, okay, we're at this point. Caden is 10 years old, 5'1", 200 pounds. So he's only a few inches shorter than me, but by the end of the year, he'll be taller than me. So roughly November, December, when Caden was about to get his braces off because he had foot surgery, Caden became more and more aggressive to where I'm in the car driving, he's grabbing on my shirt, my sweatshirt, choking me, hitting me, throwing stuff in the front of the car, his tablet hit me in the back of my head. At any point in time, I could have had a car accident. And he really just didn't care, nor did it sink in. Contacted his psychiatrist for medication. They pretty much told me, they'll do another appointment, so on and so forth. Was even in the verge of getting him back in school because he had been out of school for a couple months because of his foot surgery. Was on the phone with his school, in the car on a Zoom call with everybody from the school. He's choking me, hitting me, cussing me out in my car because my child is verbal. Cusses like a sailor. Now, don't get me wrong, I cuss too when I'm in traffic, but I don't cuss the words that my son was using. Every MF, shut the F up. So these were words he either learned from his peers on the bus or his peers in his classroom. So on the phone with the school was like, okay, well, we'll talk to you later because if you get in an accident, there's nothing we can do. Okay, but you're seeing how he's acting. And if I do get in an accident, then who's going to vouch for me that this is why I got in my accident? So they disconnected the call. Didn't call to check to see if I had made it home safely. I think they sent me an email the next day to continue the call, but never called to make sure I made it home safely. Never sent the police to my house. Never, is she okay? None of that. So long story short, I ended up taking him to a doctor's appointment in Baltimore, and then I ended up taking him to the emergency room because it kept continuing and getting more and more aggressive. Take him to the emergency room at a hospital. And they check us in. I go to move my car because I had to park up front to get him out the car. I'm not even gone 5 minutes. They have the whole security team ready to give him medication to sedate him because if he's tearing up the room that he's currently in. They do their evaluation. They say we're going to keep him overnight for evaluation. The next day, I'm nicely told that my child is going to be discharged. And I tell them I'm not leaving this hospital with my child acting the way that he is, because he's still acting up. They still want to medicate him. They want to give him certain medications to calm him down. And I'm like, I'm not leaving this hospital with my child. So I said, they're like, well, you've been discharged. I said, well, if I leave him here because I'm not taking him home, I'm not driving 2.5 hours to get back home with my child. They tell me, well, if I leave my child at the hospital, I'm abandoning my child and child services would be involved. I'm not leaving my child because I don't want my child. I was going to leave my child because my child needed the help that nobody was willing to give me. And in my mind, I'm like, if I leave him here, then maybe somebody will give him the help that he needs. So, of course, I'm not going to leave my child just for, social service to take him over and then me not be able to get my child back in my custody. So I tell them I'm not leaving. And so they go get security on me. Not one security guard, not two security guards, but roughly 10 security guards to escort myself and my 10-year-old who's cussing and still fighting, and they still want to give him medication. Matter of fact, they gave him medication prior to his discharge to calm him down for the ride home.
This is crazy.
Oh, yeah, I'm not done. So 10 security guards. So I say, go get the security. I want to speak to the supervisor because I'm not leaving this hospital with my child. A male security guard comes to me and tells me, these people have said you have to leave. I don't care what these people say because I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving here with my child acting like this. Mind you, there's 2 other patients in this, particular area of the hospital. I'm not leaving this hospital. Well, they've asked you to leave. I'm not leaving. My child is cussing and fussing, throwing stuff. And there's nothing even in this room for him to throw other than the pillow and the sheet because of the type of unit that he was on. He was on a behavioral health unit, but you're telling me I need to leave the hospital with my child. The resident was there. The social worker was there. The security guard, I looked at him as a mother talking to a father. I'm assuming he was a father. I said, would you leave? Would you get in the car with your child acting like this? He looked me dead in my face and told me my child wouldn't act like that. He was a male, and then the area of time that I was in, he was a black male. All the security guards were black. I hate to say it, but everybody was black. The security guard was black, and he told me my child wouldn't act like that. And I said, well, I'm not leaving this hospital like that. Then he said, well, you need to get your family involved. You need to have more of your family members involved. No, I don't need to have more of my family. I am the family member. I'm here with my child. So I look at the social worker. I said, do you have children? Well, it's not about me. It's about your child. Exactly. It's about my child. That is why I'm not leaving here with my child acting like this. They still wanted to put me out. I said, okay, give me a wheelchair. Give me a wheelchair. Because at the time, my son had foot surgery in November. So he went from cast on both feet to AFOs all the way up his legs. So they put us in a wheelchair. They give me a wheelchair. They escort me out. Instead of the 10, it goes down to 5 security guards to escort me out. So me being me, I said, okay. I rolled him out the emergency room door, right back to admitting, I need to readmit my child. Because I'm not going home with my child acting like this.
I know that's right.
My child was cussing, fussing, swinging. And this hospital has an emergency for peds and an emergency for adults. There was kids over there. There was adults over there. He's cussing like he on a Navy ship, full sailor. The lady was like, what's his name? I gave it to her. She said, have you been here before? I said, oh, we just got put out. I'm readmitting my child. She said, well, according to the system, you're discharged. I said, well, according to them, you're still admitted. I said, well, according to them, I'm discharged. 5 security guards still standing over here. I said, y'all still seeing all this, right? I said, matter of fact, let me back up so the cameras can see this. Because if y'all really make me leave and something happens, you all are responsible for this. Mm-hmm. So she walks away from me. She was like, you need to go have a seat. No, I don't need to have a seat. There's babies over here. My child is cussing. He's fighting me. And these little babies do not need to see it, nor do their family members. I guess it was the charge nurse comes back out there, comes and get me and tells me I can go back in the unit that we were originally in. So we go back there. Well, we'll keep him overnight for another night. Oh, you guess? Because again, I'm not leaving.
Like they're doing you a favor.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like they're doing me a favor. So long story short, my son ends up in this emergency room for 2.5 weeks in the emergency room, waiting on a bed on a neurobehavior unit at another facility. My son had to be medicated several times. For the first week and a half, I stayed at that hospital with my son. And this is going to get real disgusting. No bath, food from the cafeteria, you sleeping on a pull-out couch. But I'm that mother that I'm there with my child, because I guess they assumed that I was just dropping my child off and saying, this is y'all's problem. No, I was there with my child. I finally left and drove an hour and a half to Annapolis to take a bath at my niece's house and then went back. But this is 4 days of being at a hospital with my child without bath, nothing. My concern was my child, not my child that was at my house, but the child that was at the hospital, and making sure he gets what he needs. The head psychiatrist comes down in charge of the unit. He tells me my child should have never been discharged. He was going to take care of everything, so on and so forth. I'm like, okay. The social workers will walk by, peek in the room, don't even look in my direction, because I have nothing to say to y'all. Because all y'all kept saying was, he's discharged, he's discharged. Like I said, emergency room for 2.5 weeks at one particular facility. I ended up having to leave him because I had to go back to work. I still have bills to pay. I still have another child that I have to worry about. Several times he had been medicated because of his behavior there for them to calm him down. He has currently been away from home for 2 months, almost 3 months. He's now at the other facility, and the facility he's at now, I don't know what the ratio is. Oh, let me go back to that hospital. The other 2 children that were in the unit with him, I actually saw one of the little boy's fathers in the hallway, and I was talking to Paula actually on the phone at the hospital. Mm-hmm. The little boy's father came up to me and told me, you did what you were supposed to do. Absolutely. And I'm apologizing for my actions. And he said, no, I was ready to come out there and stand with you, because everything you said was absolutely true. Wow. And there was no reason for them to discharge your son. And that was that particular father. And then I saw it was a teenage boy. His mother was in the hallway, and she said, you're not wrong for what you did or what you said. You were fighting for your child. You are your child's biggest advocate. So both parents, me thinking I'm wrong for being loud and being rude because these other babies are over there, they told me I was not wrong. I did exactly what I was supposed to do.
Yes.
So now my son is in another facility that I'm not too happy with, this facility, because they get a call from me every day. But they wanted to discharge him last week because the school placement that my son was in has dropped him because they didn't want to continue. The county that I live in didn't want to continue to pay for funding for him to attend the school. But like I said earlier, when I receive my property taxes every year or every 6 months, it says all of my money is going towards the county that I live in, public schools, which means I'm paying for my child to go to school outside of my county.
And that's a non-public school. We just want to clarify that that's a non-public school that he was placed in, and the county pays for because the school could not educate him.
Correct. So now they wanted to discharge my son on last Wednesday. And I said, he's not coming home to sit in the house without school placement. There's no school placement. The school has the county has emailed me and said, well, if we don't have a school placement, we'll do in-home, I guess, tutoring or teaching. I work from home, but even though I work from home does not mean I'm able to sit here and watch you teach my child and do all that. No, I still have to work. I still am responsible again for my bills and food on my tables and all that other stuff. So now you want to come into my house and babysit my child while I work, I guess is the best way to put it, because they don't have a placement for my child because they didn't want to pay for it. So that's where we're at right now. So now they're like, oh yeah, well, we can't release him. But every resource that I had prior to my son having surgery in November and going into the hospital in January, I no longer have. A local agency that saw my son, kind of like a mentorship type situation, they dropped his services in February because they had not seen him in a month. And where we live at in Maryland, there's very little to no resources, very little to none. But nobody wants to help. And every time I say, this is what my child needs, it's, well, have you done X, Y, and Z? I said, I've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to the letter Z, and still cannot get anything from my child. I don't want my child to be that statistic or that person on the news that the police don't ask questions first. They react before they ask questions. And my child should not have to wear a tattoo or across his forehead, across his chest. I mean, we support autism clothing, but he should not have to wear a shirt every day that says he's autistic. I shouldn't have to put a bumper sticker on my car that says my child is autistic. I should not have to do that. Number one, of course, the police need to be trained better, but I don't want my child to be that statistic. I want my child and all of his peers and every other child out there, an adult, to be able to, if they have a moment, and a lot of them have moments, for people to understand. And although my child is aggressive and very aggressive at that, I still want him to be able to function in life without me having to be by his side and block everybody from him to say, oh, he's just having a moment, he'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I'm sorry, that's where we're at right now. So we've been 2 different hospital facilities, sitting in an emergency room on a stretcher for 2.5 weeks, to now in a neurobehavior facility that there's only one in the state of Maryland that has a 2.5, almost 3 week wait. And actually my son, and I guess I shouldn't say about the other individual, that one of the individuals that was in the emergency room with him are actually both still there. So that child left 2 weeks before my son and is still there. And my son has been there for almost 2 months. So how well is this facility? Not very well, because they've changed one of his medications, they've decreased, and they've put him on something else that still hasn't helped.
So, Ebony, I have a question about the aggression. I'm trying to be as real sensitive to ask the question.
What sets him off?
Yes, like why?
The sky being blue.
Yeah.
The sky being blue. And that's the only answer I can give you. The sky being blue. Everyone asks me that. There's no rhyme or reason. He can be perfect. I even have Ring video camera of my front door. He can be walking out the house, going to get pizza, perfectly fine, and just flip. There is no explanation why my child does what he does. And they're all like, there has to be something. No, the sky is blue. That is the only reason I can give. And I have multiple. He can be walking out the house, walking halfway down the sidewalk, and he'll just turn around and swing. He'll throw something. He can be sitting on the couch. Tablet goes across the room.
Is there anything that he likes?
Food. Food. Tablets, music. I mean, he there's a lot of things that he loves. But there's those, even like I said, he can be sitting on the tablet and the tablet can go around, on the couch. The tablet can go across the room. We can be sitting in the car, music playing, perfectly fine. Matter of fact, prior to me taking him to the hospital, we had left Chick-fil-A in Annapolis, and I had just gave him a sandwich. Sandwich came to the front of the car. Tablet came right behind it. Well, I fed you. Either you're going to eat this chicken sandwich that you just threw up here that hit the floor, or you're not eating nothing at all. That was your decision to throw it. But there's no rhyme or reason other than the sky being blue.
Do you think that his foot surgery, I know you were saying he was aggressive. I know, like me as a parent, you're trying to trace that thing back, because from what they tell you, you always feel like, okay, there is something that started that caused this behavior. Do you feel like his foot surgery, and can you tell us a little bit about the foot surgery? Do you think that made situations worse?
So the foot surgery, he had double arches put in both of his feet because he was so flat-footed. So he had arches put in both feet, and then he had the tendon released in the back of both legs. In the hospital, he was perfectly fine. He's like me. We don't complain about pain. We'll tell you we're uncomfortable, but we never tell you we're in pain. In the hospital, of course, they gave him, the extra pain pills. When we got home, he got Tylenol because he didn't complain about pain the whole time we were in the hospital. He didn't complain about pain when we came home. I gave him Tylenol to be comfortable. But even if it was, he's always been aggressive. And it's over time, it's gotten worse. And it got worse after the surgery. So I'm not going to say it was the anesthesia or so on and so forth, because that was back in November. He went in the hospital in January. But he's just always been aggressive. And like I said, he's getting bigger. And like I said, when he started putting his hands on me, that's when I was like, okay, there's no more fear in your heart. I mean, because my mother's 70, my daughter is 6, my sister is 53. I had to think about it. And like everybody, he's swung at. And matter of fact, I think my father was even here back in November, December after his foot surgery, and I want to say he swung on my father too. But there's no rhyme or reason. He's just, like I said, because the sky is blue. And that's the only explanation I can give. So even when go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I want you to finish.
So that's why I was asking when the police officer was giving his speech last week and saying that this is what they do. I'm like, well, what do they do for children? Because DC is obviously different from Maryland. Because Maryland is doing nothing, at least where we live at in Maryland. They're doing nothing for these children or even the people with mental health. The only thing they're worried about in our county is making sure everybody got a free Narcan stick in case they overdose. Yeah. And I hate to say it that way, but that is the honest truth.
Wow. So, Ebony, I wanted to know, like, when did you first start seeing it in your son? Like, what age and what were some of the things that he was doing?
Probably before he was even 1. And I think it was more of he didn't start walking until 2 weeks before he turned 2, or 2 weeks after he turned 2. I'm sorry. And because he had a gait trainer and braces and everything, because I wasn't even for sure if he was even going to be able to walk. So he didn't start walking until 2 weeks after he was 2, and then he really didn't start talking until about 2.5. But it's just always been aggressive. And he used to have seizures because they even thought maybe it was the seizure medication that was making him aggressive. He hasn't been on seizure medicine in over 6 years, if not 7, and still just aggressive as all outdoors. And again, just getting bigger. Like I said, he's 5'1" and 200 pounds.
And so all this time, they've not been able to find something that could settle him down on a long-term basis.
So we've gone to different psychiatrists, several. Been on several different medications, even medications that made him hallucinate. And I took him to one medical facility, since I'm not allowed to say names. And the psychiatrist in the behavioral health unit told me there was nothing they could do. And I was tripping because there was no reason my child should be hallucinating. We had just came back from Myrtle Beach, and my child started stopping in his, just freezing, like he had saw the hugest dog. You know, people are petrified of pets. And like he just froze, but he kept saying he was seeing alligators. And I'm like, how are you seeing an alligator? We're in the house. There's no alligators. There's no water. Just freezing. And I mean, frozen for like 5 minutes. And I'm telling the doctor that prescribed the medicine, he laughed in my face and told me, obviously there was something wrong with me because I'm telling him my child is hallucinating. And I'm like, no, my child is hallucinating off this medication that you prescribed him. And he was like, no, there's no way. So he said, well, I guess you won't be coming back. And I said, no, I will not be coming back. Because my child was hallucinating off this medication, and he told me I was crazy because my child was hallucinating. Took him to the emergency. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ebony. How do you go on like this? Like, how do you keep yourself sane or find a glimpse of happiness,
and hope shining?
Oh, hope. Yeah, like you say, Crystal, or hope.
See, they up there telling you like is something wrong with you, and you're like, it's, and you're voicing your concerns, and
no one's listening.
Yes.
So I have a Toyota Camry that has 142 miles on it from going to doctor's appointments in DC and Maryland. All miles from doctor's appointments. All for my son, all for my child. How do I stay sane? I like to call it crack, but it's really Dove chocolate in the blue wrapper, the milk Dove chocolate.
We need to get some of that Dove. What you say, the blue wrapper?
Yes, the milk chocolate. That is what I keep to keep me sane. I've even gone to counseling myself, and I always have to cut my counseling short because I don't have time for myself. There is no time. So am I sane? No. Am I crazy? HELL, yes. But I'm crazy about my children.
Right.
And again, if I don't advocate for my child, there's another child, and I advocate for my child and and his peers. So whenever I'm fighting for him, I'm fighting for whoever's around him. Absolutely. So they're looking at me like I'm even more crazy because I'm like, if I'm not going to speak up, I know that child's parent is not going to speak up, or the next parent is not going to speak up. So if you're trying to do my child dirty, you definitely doing the next one dirty. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason, because without us, the doctors wouldn't be there. And without the doctors that should be helping us, they're not helping us. They're just making it worse. And not for me. Like, I don't want a drug that's going to zonk my child out. I want my child to be able to function. I want him to get up and be able to go to the bathroom. I want him to get up and play. I want him to get up and talk. I want him to eat. I want him to help me in the kitchen. I want him to help make up his bed. Chores. I want him to be able to function.
He's a kid. Absolutely.
Right. I want him to be able to function. I don't want a medication that's going to zonk him out. I want to know what I need to do for my child. I need to know what classes we need to take. I need to know what resources can be available to help him out. Mm-hmm. I need to know what's going to help him to better him. I don't want to just sit here and say, not my problem, it's y'all's problem. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, I need to know what is going to help my child and his peers. Because if I'm going through this, that means somebody else is going through it, but they're sitting in the corner and too afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it.
But it'll come out in another way. That's the thing. Yeah. People are not realizing that when you are constantly being abused physically by your child, and we talk about the battered woman syndrome, and we talk about it from the mate standpoint. But what about when your child is doing it, and your child is 10 years old? And that's this size, and he's going to get bigger, he's going to get older, he's going to get stronger. Yeah. If you're telling me my child is tapped out now with medication and nobody knows what to do, what do I have to look forward to?
Right.
Where are the specialists? Where are the
Well, Ebony, I want to ask, like, of him being in these facilities and he's being evaluated and assessed, like, what are they concluding? Are they like, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're noticing? Could he possibly be seen by like a neurologist or something? Like, I was just wondering, what information are they giving you?
So the information that they gave me, like I said, they changed his medication. But let me go back to Paula. Paula, you were saying about the abusive. I tell people I've never been in an abusive relationship until I had a son. I've never had to fight, and I don't wish that on anybody, but I've never been in an abusive relationship until I had a son. But back to you, I'm sorry. They've changed his medication, given him a new one. And I've even asked that question. I'm like, so what else is going on here? Well, we're going to have to come up with a behavior plan. Excuse my language. Well, hell, we've already had a behavior plan and that didn't work. So what is different about your behavior plan than the one that I've already had through school, through his psychiatrist that he's already had, so on and so forth? What is different about it? They haven't been able to give me that answer. They'll call me and say, yeah, he was a little aggressive today. We've had to give him his PRNs. We have him in the quiet room, so on and so forth. Okay, well, what triggered it? Like you said, what triggered it? Well, he wants to go home. Of course, we all want to go home. But prior to all of this, what is going on? They can't even give me the reasons why he's having these aggressive moments. So nobody. Oh, when they give him medication, how long does it take? It just depends on the medication, because I know I can't say the names, because there's two that they've been giving him to calm him down. But
does it last long?
Oh, does it last long? No.
But I'm like wondering, what are they medicating? Like, what are they trying to do? Yeah.
What's the goal? Yeah. What's the goal?
That's a wonderful question. You're right. For the moment. But again, there's other patients there. There's other peers there. And I've seen all of the peers. And then I'm like, are y'all doing the same thing to these peers? Because I've even had to go down the hallway to be like, where the HELL is the staff at? Like, that's how deep it has been at that facility that my son is currently at. To where I have personal contact with the charge nurse from that facility, and I'm not allowed to talk to, well, I'm allowed to, but we have chosen to, I'm only speaking to the nurses, because the mental health workers there don't know what the HELL they doing.
It's almost like it's a one-size-fits-all thing. You know how you've seen like those things, the doctors, and they go up and down the hallway and they have like a certain amount of pills that they're like zombies, and they take them out their hands and they make sure they drink it, open their mouth, make sure they drink it, and then it's like, okay, let's move on to the next one. But I'm like with you, Crystal, first of all, to me, there needs to be a diagnosis. That's the first thing. And then with that diagnosis, there should come like a plan of action.
A treatment plan.
Yeah, a treatment plan and a plan of action. Because again, I say he's 10 years old.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? They can't keep him in somewhere like this forever. At some point, he's gonna have to come home. We have to have him be educated. At what point is he going to come home? Is he going to be worse? This is crazy.
Is there any education being provided while he's there?
So according to them, they do. But according to my child, he says there's a tutor that comes, but the tutor does not work with him. Again, my child is verbal. So he's telling me the truth. So that is another conversation that has been had. And of course, they're showing me that he's being educated. He tells me he has group. For the most part, he says they do yoga and deep breath. So I tell him whenever he's ready to have a moment, just retrace those steps. But as far as the medication, when he talks to me, he's still alert and he's still his normal self. When they call me and tell me that they've had to give him PRN medication, of course, I call back to check on my child because I'm like, I need to know that my child is okay and alert and so on and so forth. But they have yet to give it, and I would have pulled him out by now. I definitely would have pulled him out. But as of right now, there's no school placement. So again, he'd be sitting in the house doing absolutely nothing. And I wouldn't be able to do my job.
No, you can't.
Because I would have to entertain and keep an eye on him. And I can't work and do that and not knowing how long it's going to take for them to get him in school.
Right.
Our county is out of school next week. Nobody's going to be there to work on getting him a placement for school. Right. So he's not going to be home till after the holiday. He's 2.5 hours away from me on a good day, around 6:95.
On you having to go there to be, for you to show your face to your child and for you to visit with your child. That's a lot of wear and tear on you too.
Yeah. We talk every day as much as we can with their phone times. Again, I go up there every weekend. I would go up there every day if I could. But again, 695 traffic is no joke.
Yeah.
It's 2.5 hours on a good day. 3, the visiting hours are from 5 to 7. So even if I left my house at 2:30 when I got off from work, I still have to get my other child off the bus, and she's not allowed to go up there because she's not old enough.
Yeah.
I still got to get around the Beltway, get through that traffic if there's no accidents. May get there by 5:30, may get there by 6, to have to leave by 7, to again have to drive 2.5 hours to get back home.
Now, Ebony, one thing that you brought up to me when we talked, and I think you left this out, is the times that they've said that we want to make sure you're not one of those parents that's just going to drop your child off just to hang out. I think there's a big misconception that we don't love our children. We don't love our special needs kids. Like we want to get rid of them. Can you elaborate a little more on that portion of the conversation with some of the security guards or the doctors?
Oh, so when I was at the hospital, a couple of the security guards, because let me rephrase that. The ones in black were wonderful. The ones that were in blue were terrible. So there was 2 different sets of security guards. The security guards told me, several of them, some parents just come drop their kids off because they want to go have fun for the weekend. They want to go on vacation. They want to go have a holiday meal without their child being there and, being interrupted. I don't care if it's Monday, Christmas, Easter, Friday, Saturday, Good Friday, whatever day of the week, my child is going to be with me. Whether I go with my family, if I don't feel like dealing with them, we'll stay home, but we'll still celebrate the holiday. I'm not dropping my child off. And even the doctor said, well, most parents do just drop their children off. That's not me. Again, like I said, I was there funky. I mean, funky, without a bath. And y'all, we women, so without a bath.
And they didn't even offer you facilities or anything?
Without a bath, being there with my child, sleeping in a pull-out chair.
We do some stuff. I tell you.
But they just assumed that Ebony was just like everybody else. Like, oh, she gonna do what everybody else is doing. And they didn't even give you any benefit of the doubt And the way it sounded like you were talking to them, it's not like because you could have just said, if you were dropping them off, I'm out, peace.
Right.
You didn't even do that. You're back and forth with them. Security is coming. You're letting them know. I think if that was your intention, it would have been known. It would have been known right then and there. You'd have been like, I'm not taking them. And when they said he's been discharged, you'd be like, well, I'll be right back. And you wouldn't have came back.
Right.
Yeah. But again, that is my child. That is my firstborn. Right. I'm not leaving. Even if he was my 10th born, I would not leave him. That's not even an option. That's not even a question. And like I've told them, I would be at the hospital where he's currently at every day, every other day. 295 traffic, 2.5 hours to get up there. I'm sorry, 695 traffic, 2.5 hours up, 2.5. That's 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like y'all asked, am I okay? No, I'm not okay. Like mentally, no, I'm not. And I'll be honest. But I go up there every weekend.
You do what you can.
I spend as much time with him as I can. I took my tablet up there last weekend so we could watch 911 because we always watch 911 together. He didn't want to watch 911. So we just sat there and talked and we ate. But, they think some people, and I know some people do, they just go and they drop their children off. I'm not that parent. I'm not the parent that's going to the doctor's office asking for a pill to put my child to sleep.
Right.
I'm asking for help that he needs so that he can function. Yes. When we go on vacation, when we all go on vacation, because we go to Myrtle Beach every December, I want him to be able to enjoy the scenery. I want him to go out and walk down the boardwalk, put his feet in the sand. We go somewhere at Myrtle Beach, I want him to be able to enjoy it. I thought about taking him to Disney this year. I want him to be able to enjoy it and function and have fun. If he has a moment, he has a moment. He won't be the only person there having a moment. It's going to be some grown adults having moments because their feet hurt and they got on the wrong shoes. But everybody is going to have their moments. I just want my child to be able to function in life, whether I need more training, whether he needs more direction or whatever the case may be. I just want him to be able to live and be happy.
Right.
That's it. Nothing.
And that's all most parents want.
Yeah, that's all we want.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Is he abusive to other people outside the family? Like strangers, if someone's just standing next to him?
No, he's never done that. He's been aggressive at school, like you were saying about yours. He's been aggressive at school. He's been aggressive at the facility he's at now, and he was aggressive towards the staff and stuff at the emergency room he was in. Okay. So outside the family, no. I mean, outside the household, no. But I know that day may come. Yeah. So I'm trying to be prepared.
Yeah, right. You trying to get in front of it. Like this don't need to go any further. My mom Carolyn is asking a really good question because I wanted to ask this. She said, "Have they ever decided to do an MRI or a CAT scan?"
He had an MRI done when he was 2 months old, when he had his very first seizure. He has not had one since. They have said there's no reason for him to have one because he's actually missing the right side of his corpus callosum and he's missing his cerebellum. So I guess they feel like they wouldn't.
That could be a reason.
We've seen genetics. We've seen neurology. We've seen psychology. We've seen every doctor except for the cancer doctor, if that's the best way to put it. Oncology. We've seen every doctor. When I tell you between the medical facility in DC, facilities in Baltimore, hell, I'll even drive out the state or buy a ticket to drive out the country, fly out the country if I need to for my child. I will starve for the rest of the year to pay for a facility that's going to assist my child. So there's nothing that I wouldn't do for him and his sister, but nothing.
You can't, I guess for me, and I don't know, when Ebony was telling me, I was like, this has to be something that other people hear because it almost makes you feel like, and I know there are times for me when I felt like this about Morgan. I felt like it was like she was the only person in the world that nobody could figure out. And so it was like when you're going and you're taking her to the different doctors and you're trying to seek help, it's like nobody understood her. So it's like, I'm looking to you guys to help me understand what's going on and help me to be a better mom for her, because if I don't know what her needs are and something could be going on, then I'm not giving her what she needs. So I feel like at this point, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the help that you need, but no one is giving it to you. I just cannot believe that he is, whatever is going on with him cannot be described or cannot be helped. I just don't believe that.
I don't either.
It's crazy, but it's almost like that's what it is.
Every time I feel like I'm getting ahead, I hit another brick wall. That's the only way I can put it. I hit a brick wall.
So every time. So when you go on the weekends, what fun stuff do y'all do?
I was on that.
And how is his aggression when he see you, with your time on the weekends?
So when he sees me, he gives me my hug and my kiss, and he tells me he wants to come home, and I tell him I'm working on it, which I am, because as soon as we find placement for school, he's coming home, because again, there's no point in him being there anymore because they're not doing anything. But always food. He either puts in a request for Potbelly, Nando's. This weekend he wants Chick-fil-A. Oh yeah, my children they know their restaurants. I do cook though. But well, even with him, we're always on the road with doctor's appointments, and he's obsessed with Potbelly. We'll stop at Chick-fil-A. He's now getting used to Nando's. So, I try not to go to McDonald's because I can't stand McDonald's. But, we go to those places. But Chick-fil-A, like I said, I took my tablet this past weekend to watch 911. He didn't want to watch it, which actually is on right now. So we'll watch that tomorrow when we go. Hopefully he'll watch it with me. But, we'll play a game. We'll read a book. We'll talk.
You go outside walking with him, maybe on the property?
No. And excuse me, even this past week when I was there, one of the staff had the nerve to say something to me. She was like, I'm gonna need you to stay in the room. And I had to bite my tongue because I wanted to say I wanted to say young lady. If you are available.
They don't want them out, is that it?
So of course everybody is, I'm not gonna say locked in, but they're in a secure area. The whole floor is secure. So none of the kids can run out, elope. So they put you in a room, you and your peer, or you and your family member, and then they have another room across the hallway for another family. But the children are allowed to run up and down the hallway. So if one of the children run up and down the hallway and you're in the hallway, they're afraid that one of the other children may attack you, which is understandable for everybody's safety. But again, if I come out the room and I'm like, hey, and nobody can hear me, then of course I got to come out, or if I got to yell, hey, and you still not listening, that means you're not where you're supposed to be.
Right.
So I have to come around the hallway or walk daggone near down the hallway, and there's this big fishbowl and nobody's in it. Where's the staff? These babies running up and down the hallway. Where's the staff?
But kids need fresh air too. So I don't know, for me, and when I'm envisioning it, I understand what they're saying. However, you cannot keep a child locked up in a situation.
It could be a playground. They go outside, a fenced-in playground or something.
So he says there's a gym that I have not been to, so I don't know if they have certain time frames for each of the units to go down to the gym. But he does say there's a gym. No. Well, the Mayo Clinic, no, but the other facility, yes. Since you put it out there, that's the emergency room we were in for 2.5 weeks, and the 10 security guards, the first one. But I still didn't say their name. So I've never been to the Mayo Clinic because even my sister recommended the Mayo Clinic, but I haven't reached out to anyone.
Mayo Clinic, are they local?
I've heard great things about them. But
I think when I Googled them, they also said they were associated with that hospital.
Oh.
But yeah, no. Yeah, they said there's a gym at the facility, but nothing. He said he's gone down there, but I don't know if they've been outside to get fresh air. But I'm going to say no, because he and I both have terrible allergies and he's been fine. So if he's gone outside with the weather keep changing, he would be completely stuffed up and his asthma would be kicking in as well.
One thing that I am happy about Ebony is the fact that he's verbal, so that he can let you know if there's anything happening to him. Whereas my grandson is nonverbal, and if we had to go that route, I would just be a nervous wreck, not knowing what's happening to him. So I mean, outside of everything else, I am thankful that he is verbal and he can let you know if anything's happening to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what's his behaviors after I leave? Well, sometimes he puts me out because he wants to go play with his friend. So at that moment, he's fine.
Okay.
But then I may get a phone call later stating that, you know, he's being aggressive towards his peers. And, you know, they've had to redirect him several times and they may have had to put him in the quiet room. So it just depends on the day. And again, if the sky is blue, because it just happens with him. But as what you were saying with, you know, you'd be concerned. Oh, there's been instances that I have not been told of in reference to things happening to my child. My child actually tells me what has happened. So I've had to call back and have had a few words with the mental health workers and the nurses to be questioned. And I'm questioning, why haven't y'all called me? Why haven't you called me to tell me what's going on with my child? So yeah, they all know me. They all know me and they know that's my baby and I'm not playing about my child at all.
Right.
My mom asked, like, did you see a change in him when you go on weekends, like when you haven't seen him throughout the week?
No, he still sounds the same. And again, when he gets on the phone with me, he's crying, telling me he wants to come home. He's ready to come home. He's telling me all the things he's not going to do, which are the things that he's done. And he says he just wants to come home. He wants to be home. He wants to sleep in his bed. He says, my child has broken about 4 TVs in my house.
Well, Grayson has broken 6 in mine.
And that's material. I mean, that's materialistic. And one of the last TV he broke was mounted up on the wall, and he took a cell phone and threw it across the room right in the middle, just shattered it. So he's like, I'm not going to break the TV. I'm not going to fight you in the car. I'm going to sleep in my own room.
He knew what he was doing. Yeah, Grayson would just be throwing stuff, not realizing. But
well, they have the shields because I actually bought a shield to go over the TV now. So they have shields on Amazon. Did it work? Has it worked?
Does work, but we have plexiglass. We have a clear plexiglass in front of it that we just went to Home Depot and got a piece of plexiglass and cut it to the TV. Yeah.
Okay.
Denise has asked this several times as far as the special education, one that focuses on medical issues. And a lot of times when we talk about lawyers, a lot of times that comes with so much money and you already stretched thin and everybody wants a retainer. Everybody wants a piece of the action.
Yes.
So a lot of the times, yeah.
So I actually did contact the lawyer. I've actually spoken to 2 lawyers. So when Caden was in the 1st grade, he was I don't even know if I can say the county. So he was in public school at the time, and he had actually gotten to another school in the county, and they put him out before they allowed him in because of his IEP. So the first day of school, there was no school bus or ride home. The second day of school, there was no school bus or ride home. So on the 3rd day, my child went and showed his hips at school because he felt abandoned. They said there was 5 adults in the classroom and all 5 adults got hurt. Now, mind you, at this time, my child was in the 1st grade, so he was much smaller. And I'm like, this is a special ed class. You cleared out the classroom, but yet still 5 adults got hurt. So I'm not understanding that situation. So my child got suspended on the 3rd day of school in the 1st grade in the state of Maryland. Hold on, I'm not done. So I reached out to a place that I don't care for that is in Maryland. The only thing that they've really done for me is contacted me with the lawyer, and I won't say this organization's name. So the organization got me a lawyer, and I'll say the name of the place where the lawyer was from. She was from Public Justice in Baltimore. So she was free services, and she deals with children with special education. And she, in the state of Maryland, unless the child has been evaluated by the school psychiatrist, they cannot be suspended in the state of Maryland unless they cannot be suspended, I think, until like the 3rd grade. So the school had to revoke the suspension. The lawyer had to be involved. They had to redo his IEP, so on and so forth. And that after that year of him getting suspended, that is when they gave us non-public school. That was the second time I had contacted the lawyer. The first time I had contacted the lawyer was prior to the IEP, or prior to him getting into the other school, but then getting kicked out, I reached out to a lawyer in reference to it. And I think they charged me $700 just to talk to me for an hour and did absolutely nothing for me.
Right.
So it's not beneficial. It's not beneficial. Nothing is beneficial, unfortunately, to our babies. And it's sad because when I tell you I've done everything, I've done everything.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it.
Have I ever worried about him being around my daughter? So 3 years ago, and this was, I think, one of the times when I really started taking him to this facility up in one hospital further up the road, and he actually pushed my daughter down the steps. And I have hardwood floors downstairs, and she hit her head on the hardwood floor. She actually had to be airlifted to a medical facility, and you all pretty much can figure out what that was. And I mean, she slept the whole flight up, but I was on the state trooper helicopter. So they looking at me as if I did something and have their hands on their guns the whole time in this helicopter ride. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So we get there. Thank goodness my daughter's fine. She's just hyper as all outdoors right now. I mean, at all times. But she's fine now. But, she was cleared. They took my statement. They brought a social worker in. They realized that my child was autistic. And they had records of him on file, so they knew that he was autistic. I ended up taking him back to that facility the very next day to be evaluated, because I'm like, why would my child push his sibling down the steps? That facility asked me, why did I bring my child there? And I should have taken him to another facility because there was nothing they could do for him. So when I tell y'all I've been fighting this fight for 10 years, I've been fighting this fight. There is absolutely, I've been fighting it.
Well, Kiki gave us some. I put that up there. Hopefully that's something.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, because I've even considered moving. My sister's husband, mother lives in New Jersey, and she's told me in New Jersey, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. New Jersey would take care of my child without any problem, no questions. Everything he needs and wants would be taken care of in the state of New Jersey. I've thought about that. But
what
I also
about
have.
you? What about
I mean,
you?
I work from home, so that would be fine if I could just take my laptop and go. But then I would have to uproot my daughter, get her in a placement. Then she'd be away from her father. My mother would be, because my mother won't go with me. So I would have to take my mother, and then my sister lives 2 streets back. So then everybody would just be lost without me and my beautiful children. So they would probably all try to go with me.
What about somewhere in DC? I know they say DC has so many resources. If you was to be a DC resident,
DC is probably more expensive to live in than where I'm currently at.
Yeah, it is expensive.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. Last year, I made half of what I normally make because I was off so much with my child.
Wow.
And when I tell you I've gone down to Social Security to apply for SSI, they still tell me I make too much, and I'm like, well, where the money at? Because
right.
Even if you give me $100 a month, that's gas money to get back and forth to the doctors. That's all I'm asking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not asking for nothing else. And when I tell you I'm a mother that is fighting for my child, I'm fighting for my child. They've even given me appointments, or they called me since he's been in the hospital for intensive outpatient therapy. I couldn't make that appointment because he was still in the hospital. We've done neurobehavior, intense outpatient behavior for like 6 weeks. That didn't work. We've done, when I tell you we've done everything, I've everything.
I know, and I just put a lawyer's name. I just put a lawyer's name that one of our listeners gave us, and they said that he's a special needs parent. So he's a lawyer. So I don't know if you want to take that information down. Also, I think we had talked about this before, because this is one of the things that someone told me about is DBS, is deep brain stimulation, but it's another milder version that one of the doctors at NIH told me about. And it's not as invasive as DBS, but it's used to help some special needs individuals that become a danger to them and to society, where it kind of just, it's almost like it's a I think they use it for Parkinson's patients and stuff, but it almost like it does something to the brain, but you have almost like a remote control where it kind of if they're overstimulated, it brings them down, and it's a calming thing.
It's a device that goes in your brain,
yes,
Paula?
it's something like that. I know, because I was considering it for Morgan. It was that versus medication. And for me, because the medication has so many side effects, and like you said, Ebony, when they give them the medication, now you're dealing with some of the stuff with the hallucinations, and most of the medications that deal from a mental standpoint, they're depressed. They could kill themselves. It's so many things that come along.
Be a whole different extreme,
exactly,
from what you're already dealing with.
Exactly. So for me, I would rather do some type of surgical procedure, and they're saying that this is a one-time thing. And it from what I hear, I even talked to one of the doctors at NIH. She said that's a very effective method. And I'm going to ask her again, because she even said, well, Paula, have you considered another procedures? And she said it's not as invasive. I'm going to ask her, and I'm going to send it to you, because these are neurosurgeons. When I talked to this person, it was a neurosurgeon. It wasn't a neurologist. And a neurosurgeon is much more effective for things like this. When it comes to behavior, they're very, very effective. And that's what I'm finding. I thought it was her neurologist is somebody that do this. The neurologist was like, the only thing that I could do is give you some medicine. The neurosurgeon is totally different. So I think,
please give me that information.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times, they're so quick. And I told you, Ebony, they're so quick to throw out kids on medication. And I get you're trying to resolve the problems. But when I look at some of those side effects, my husband, when we did it, we were like, no, because I saw my daughter during the pandemic, just because she was pulling all of her hair out. They put her on a medication. And when I tell you, Morgan did not have an understanding of what she was doing, but we saw her drastically go down a rabbit hole. And thank God we could pull her back out. When I tell you they were upping the medication, they were like, well, have she stopped pulling her hair? I'm like, no, they were upping it and upping it and upping it. When I tell you she is a happy, rarely cries. She sat around during the pandemic from November all the way to August and cried non-stop all day. When we called another doctor, he was like, oh no, we got to gradually get her off of that medication. But you know what? One of the side effects was not, when me and my son, he kept saying, Mom, it got to be this medicine. This is not her. You would just look at her and she would bust out crying. And she would just crawl up on her bed and cry all day long. But guess what? That was not one of the side effects of the medicine. And I looked it up and they were like, no, that's not a side effect. That was a side effect for her.
For her, just like it was a side effect for your son, Ebony. They're trying to telling you that's not something wrong with you. You're not speaking the truth, and you know your child.
Because their brains are built different. And like I said, my son is missing key parts of his brain. And so it's not going to affect him the same way it's going to affect somebody else.
Right. Absolutely.
And Morgan's corpus callosum is very thin. So I know a little bit about what you're talking about. It's the hemispheres of the brain. It's the right and the left, the cerebellum, I think it is, right?
Right.
The cerebellum is in the back. But they told me basically there are two different sides of the brain, and the corpus callosum is the glue that holds them together.
Yeah.
Because Morgan's corpus callosum is very thin, and when you look it up, it deals with stability. It deals with a lot of different processing disorders. So a lot of the stuff that comes along with it, it explains why she's like that. So you're saying one hemisphere of his brain is not even there?
It didn't develop all the way. It didn't develop all the way. And then he's missing the corpus callosum. And that's something they can't even tell me why it happened. And then he has a partial chromosome duplication again, which is something they still can't tell me why all this has happened.
All of those things together is contributing to his behavior.
Absolutely.
It is. And I believe,
no other reason.
Honestly, Ebony, I believe you need to see a neurosurgeon. I do. Because at this point, he's 10 years old. Mm-hmm. He's 10 years old. And all of these people, it's almost like for me, I don't know if you all have experienced this, but it's almost like when you bring your child and nobody wants to say that they don't know, or I'm not the one to treat them. Everybody just wants to pull out their prescription pad. No, send me to who I need to go to. Don't try. And I know for me, because I used to say Morgan had a rare genetic disorder. Everybody wants, if I took her in at 10, they want to go back to, well, what, when you were pregnant, stop giving me, tell me everything. I said, no, I'm not going back there. You are not the one to deal with her. I'm going to go to a doctor that has been following her all these years. You're not going to get a Nobel Peace Prize off of my door. It's not happening. It's not. So I'm going to say, I think a neurosurgeon would be the way to go. I definitely will talk to the doctor that I talked to at NIH and see what they say, because they did tell me DBS is not bad, but there also is other options. And I'm just surprised that none of these options were ever conveyed to you. Yeah.
Well, please let me know, because I've met my deductible for the year. So whatever we got to do.
Come on, Ebony.
Yeah,
Ebony, like, it's from here on out. Let me see everybody I got to see in 2024.
We met our deductible in the first month of the year. Yes, I've met my $4,000 deductible. Yes. Now, like I said, I've taken him everywhere he's need to go in that first month. And
so, Ebony, can I ask you this before we go?
Yes, and I do not drink, so that's not my solving problem. So I need to, but I don't drink.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
But I was going to ask, how are you? How are you taking care of you? We ask this. It is, you have to put it out there, because so many people relate and they feel alone. How are you?
I'm terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I'm terrible. I take it one day at a time. I cry in the shower. I eat my Dove chocolate. I get my nails done every 6 weeks for my me time on my day off. But there's never any time. I even went to a special ed meeting one time or something in Waldorf, and met with one company, and they were like, well, what is the definition of me time for you? I said, well, what is that? What truly, what is that? There is no me time. Because even with my son not being home, my daughter, who gets little of my time, is requiring all of my time right now, and I'm giving it to her. And she's loving it. And unfortunately, I mean, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but when he comes home, I'm going to be divided again. And, her mental stability is more important than mine, and his mental stability. Both of them are more important than I am. And I know I need to take care of myself, but
it's not, Ebony, because if you're not mentally stable, you're not mentally, healthy, you can't be anything for them. So in actuality, I hear what you're saying. And that's what we say as mothers, as parents, but that's not true, because if you're not mentally healthy, you can't be they can't be mentally healthy.
That's why
I get what you're saying.
That's why I got my bag of Dove candy. That's the only way I can do it. I mean, I have family. I have my mother. And I love her. I have my sister. But when everybody is trying to tell you which way to turn, when you know which way you want to turn, but they're all telling you, sometimes you just have to fight that. I mean, you fight the battle on your own and you make those decisions. I mean, even when he got transferred from one hospital to another one, I didn't take anybody with me, because that was something I had to do on my own. Even my ex-husband has asked me, have you reached out to my son's other half? I said, for what? I said, what do I need to reach out to him for? Like, he's not even non-existent. He doesn't care. He does not care. My son is 10. He has not spent time with my son since he was a month old. What is the purpose of me reaching out to him?
Right.
So, and then he said, well, what about, again, they don't care. So what do I need to reach out to people who don't care about a child? They're not coming to get him every weekend. They're not giving me a break. It's me. It's always me. So again, what do I do for myself? I take care of my babies. That is what I do.
Everybody is trying to send you some people wants to send you some Dove chocolate.
Yes.
Somebody
yes, get you that Dove chocolate.
Yes, we are.
And gas card or something. Put some gas in your tank or something.
But I just want to let you know you are a blessing. You matter.
You do.
Matter. You do. And you matter. And I've been where you are. And so I know how you feel. Sometimes you be like, if I start crying, I just will never stop. And then it's like today, I'm tired of crying. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of wishing it could be different. Mm-hmm. But guess what, Ebony, you're not alone. You're not, and this is the whole reason I keep re-emphasizing. This is the whole reason for this podcast.
Yes.
Because there are other people out there that's dealing with this. Some are afraid to speak out about it.
Yes.
They're ashamed. They don't want the pity. And I've been there where I just didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want everybody crying with me or for me. Yeah, and it can be when you feel like I have done all that I can do and I don't know what else to do.
Right.
But guess what? Y'all, we need to pull together as a community. If we have these lawyers that are working with our special needs moms, don't break their pockets. We need help. If you're a doctor that's listening, you know what? Sometimes just sit down and listen. Sometimes we just want you to listen. And if you don't know what to do, don't give up. Just go to the net. Go and say, listen, we got to figure out something for this parent. She is here for a reason. So I just want us to understand as a society that we can't forget about the cadence of the world. We can't. No. We can't. He deserves happiness too. And so does Ebony and your daughter.
That's right. That's right. And that he has a mother that wants to give it to him.
Yes.
Oh, you know, it's just beautiful to hear. You just want him to enjoy life.
And that other lazy parent, woman or man, that's not stepping in and doing your part, get up. It's never too late because this is something that we both made. You should be there helping. So that other parent that's absent, I ain't saying it. Sometimes it's a woman and sometimes it's a man. Mm-hmm. Understand and know you played a role in this. Step into this fight and help.
Or send a check. Send a check.
You can't even. But the check you send, it can't even be enough to.
I'm about to say, it won't even be enough.
Now I need you physically there to help, to relieve the stress. To not let my me time only be 30 minutes to get my nails done. Right. Sometimes I need a weekend. Come on, step in this thing and help out. Do your part. You're not doing me a favor. You're being a parent.
Right.
You're being a parent. So Ebony, I told you I had to get you back on. And Ebony knows, you know, sometimes I'll just call and check on her like, Ebony, how are you? Because I've been there. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to encourage you.
Yeah.
We're going to get you them chocolates. We got to get you them chocolates. We may have a lifetime supply delivered to you. Some monthly supply delivered to you, you know. But
I might have to go out and buy me some, Ebony, see what it's about.
It's the Dove milk chocolate. Once you have that, you will not go back to any other chocolate.
Wow.
In the blue wrapper.
Blue wrapper.
Yes. Well, I definitely, again, want to thank you. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your transparency.
Yes.
You know, listen, we love you. If haven't nobody told you that today, I love you and I appreciate you because you are me fighting. You are Crystal fighting. You are Bunny fighting. Everybody that's listening, we are fighting this fight with you.
I feel strengthened, Ebony.
Me too.
You making me voice a little harder. Thank you, Ebony.
That's what I'm here for.
People are asking for your Cash App. So if you want to I can inbox and give it to me. And hey guys, we all got to do what we got to do to encourage.
Right. I want your Cash App too because I'm gonna bless you with some gas. Because
I appreciate. You know what? I appreciate that from everybody.
But don't you?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm too proud. So what y'all can do is on my Facebook page, and Paula's on my Facebook page. I have done the autism. I think it's one of 36 days. I had to walk 36 miles in the month of April. Donate to that, or take it and give something to somebody homeless. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm too proud.
Well,
I'm probably the proudest person you'll
anyway, so you might as well forget it. And I know your sister. Anyway, don't y'all worry. I know her sister.
I'd rather give it directly to you. I understand autism causes and things like that, but I'd rather give it to you directly.
Too. That's right. And we're going
to know where the funds are directly going. It's going to a cause. 100% of the cause and not a 1%.
Absolutely.
Yes. We want to get and I understand because I'm very proud too. But no, this is one thing. All you got to do is say thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We have done our job for tonight.
And while your son is away, this is some time that you can get that me time. Try to squeeze some in there since he's taken a step back a little bit, but you go ahead and get some me time in there while he's there.
Yes.
And cash out me. Send me your cash app because I'm gonna inbox it to the people that asked. We're gonna All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining Advocacy. This was an awesome show.
Thank you,
awesome
Ebony,
information. Yes, and we do appreciate you, Ebony.
And I appreciate you all as well. And thank you for letting me voice my voice for my baby.
We will be praying for you. I truly believe that God will continue to strengthen you to take care of your children and be the strong mom that you are. God is. He has everything that we need. He is the resource. And I pray that from this platform, some type of resource will open up on your behalf that your son can get a diagnosis so that he can get the appropriate care. That will be our prayer.
Yes. And Miss Paula, you're going to get that neurosurgeon information
from
me?
Okay. Yes, I will.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, ladies. Well, good night. And again, Ebony, please send me your cash app. I will give you 24 hours. If I don't get it, I will be contacting your sister.
As soon as we get off, I'll text it to you.
All right. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for everybody joining. Again, Ebony, we love you. Have a great night.
You want to say hi?
Ladies. Oh, come on.
Harley wants to come say it. Now she's running back up the steps.
Well, Harley, well, we're going to send you guys something for you and Harley to go out and enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am taking her on Saturday to see Caden. So they've authorized or allowed me to bring Harley because they haven't seen each other in 2 months.
Oh, that's
and so I'm going to take them so they can have lunch together and take some Uno cards or something for them to play with, but just for them to hug each other and see each other.
Oh, that's going to be beautiful.
That's beautiful.
That's nice.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
All right, guys. So we enjoyed you guys. Everybody enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next Thursday.
Yes.
On Advocacy. Have a good evening, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.